Hello and welcome to Cleaved. This is a new visual novel by... it literally just came out today as I'm reading it, or the day of when I'm reading it, and depending on how long it is, you will either see it the week of it coming out, probably on Friday, or you'll see it the week after, so we'll see. Yeah, and if it's really, really long, then you probably won't see it until the week after. But yeah, anyways, so what I know about it suggests that it might be an isekai. It kind of reminds me of another visual novel with sort of these type of aesthetics, as you're seeing right here on the main menu. But literally all that I see here is what I know about it though. Yeah. So I'm going into it blind, obviously. So I guess without further ado, let us begin Cleaved. I'm forcefully awakened from sleep as I hear the alarm ringing off in the distance, an incessant siren to notify all personnel on site of an imminent accident. I fall off the bed, scrambling to grab some clothing and quickly slip it on, covering myself with a shirt and trousers, getting my glasses from the bedside cabinet. I quickly slip on my canvas shoes, finally running to the door and grabbing my lab coat as I step outside of my cramped room. While the university may have been large, it was not generous with its student housing. Thankfully, it didn't take me long to rush past the security doors, and other frantic students and personnel were either trying to escape the premise or direct the flow of traffic out of the building. Most students took their instructions easily. Unfortunately for me, I am not most students. My fellow students can only imagine what kind of scientific mishap has set off the alarms at our prestigious university. I am more inclined to prove my theories right. The students of Rockford Hills are handpicked by the dean of the university as they seek gifted individuals and cultivate projects with the greatest potential. I am fortunate enough to count myself amongst these students, and even more fortunate that my chosen field of research is one that has received a lot of press from both my colleagues and my professors. I was happy to have my colleagues be so interested in the success of my project. However, it quickly turned into a necessity rather than a passion. Over the years, my work became less about furthering my own ideas and more about others deciding the direction of my research. What started as a noble intent to help humanity quickly turned into a set of deadlines that I needed to meet in order to please corporate backers. As miserable as I have been, falling more and more into the pit that they created with this constant need to tick their checklists, I was happy to know that it was nearly done. This knowledge made the current situation all the more infuriating, as the second that I thought that I was finally onto something, my work was literally about to blow up in my face. I finished my long run from the east side of the student housing and finally made it to the physics center. Looking around the open foyer, I saw nothing but scattered papers and flipped over office equipment. The building had been completely evacuated. Come on, I have to make it. I shout at myself as I make it to the elevator door, slamming my fist into the panel to call the lift down to my level. I enter the code for sub-level 3. Shit. As redundant as that word is, it's all that I can say is I'm faced with the sight before me. Before me stands my machine, a device that I had constructed with the intention of exploring the furthest edges of reality. As I had suspected, something had gone wrong. How did this happen? I made sure to shut it down. There shouldn't be any power of the segments. I can only watch in horror as I see loose objects beginning to be yanked into the air and then consumed by the ever-growing expanse of a wormhole. Okay, shit. I gotta find the emergency shutdown switch. It's the only thing that could override whatever is powering. My thoughts are immediately interrupted as I see some of the ceiling fall down and be pulled into the portal. Shit, it's getting stronger. My careful planning is replaced by frantic movements as I try to deactivate my machine. The longer I take, the worse it gets. I rush over to the main console and unlock the generator room. Pushing myself inside, I attempt to shut down the machine's primary power supply. Who turned on the auxiliary power? The machine had emergency backup power in the event of a blackout. This was so that I could draw the necessary power during tests, though it's always left off when it's not being used. However, I am left with a sinking feeling of dread as I see that the emergency power had been turned on. I burst into a sprint to the circuit breaker, gripping the handle. I wrench it down to shut down the machine. Nothing happens. The machine was still sparking, creating alert after alert. I retreat to the main console, slumping down in defeat as I stare at the marvel I created, now the image of a nightmare. I can't stop the pending catastrophe. The wormhole has accumulated too much energy. With nothing left to do, I stare into the cause of my imminent demise. My mind wanders off in a string of thoughts. How big is the explosion going to be? If I ran away, would I even get far enough to escape it? Am I going to die? The last thought sends a shudder down my spine as I can't help but cry. Through blurry vision, I look around the room, thinking back to all of the memories that I had made with my colleagues. I think back to how Wally would tell me his ideas on how to design global telecommunications that would not rely on satellites. I remember how Caitlin would show me her progress on genetically engineered bacteria to aid brain development and control the mutation. She said that it was her attempt at curing diseases. And then there was Sanders. Never spoke to him much, but he was a true scientist. The crazy bastard was doing his best to combine various elements to see if it was possible to create an infinitely renewable clean energy source. I remember when I met everyone, it was a big series of hellos and handshakes, except for Sanders. His first words to me were, "I understand that we'll be working in Lab 16 together. My work is very dangerous. I've requested that there be a lockdown button installed on the inside and outside of this lab. It will lock down the room in the event of an explosion. The materials are designed to absorb kinetic energy, so while there's no guarantee, it should help. Why is there one on the inside? In case you can't get out and need to make the sacrifice play. You can't change someone else's life unless you're willing to sacrifice your own." Wise words, Sanders. A bit pessimistic for my liking, but wise words nonetheless. I'm shaken by a heavy, scratching sound. I duck out of the way as I watch the catwalk be torn from its hinges and dragged itself across the floor towards the portal. I guess I don't have a choice. Sanders' mantra comes to the forefront of my mind. I dry my tears, snapping myself back to reality and steeling my resolve. While there may be no guarantee, if I can at least engage the lockdown, I can hope that there is a chance of stopping it. I use the desks as braces as I force myself over to the wall. Great. I make one final push and slam my fist on the lockdown button, watching metallic shutters drop across the doorways, windows, and walls, effectively sealing me in. It's cold. Wait. It's cold? Why is it... How? Huh. So, by starting off the reactor's power system early, you get involved to try and stop it, and you set off a new chain of events. Hey, wait a second. Are you... are you awake? Wow, I was not expecting that. Wow, okay. Listen, I don't mean to interrupt, whatever this is, but I need you to do something for me. Before you doze off, I need you to remember your name. What was it again? Is there a default name? Ah, Bryn. So that's what your name is. It's been so long that I honestly couldn't remember. Regardless, I don't really care for much else, nor do I know what's about to happen to you. However, this should be interesting to watch. So, don't die too quickly. I open my eyes and take a look at the strange place that I found myself in. I'm still not entirely sure what happened. I engaged the lockdown in time, then the reactor exploded, and I saw a bright light. I could feel the throbbing in my head as I struggled to remember what my now conscious brain could recall. Damn it, what the hell happened? The explosion should have killed me, but I'm here. Wherever the hell here is. It felt pointless to think of it. I looked down at my body. My tattered clothes revealed not the slightest hint as to why I was still alive. And then I felt it. My breathing hitches. The sensation of cold grasping my body combined with my own anxiety. I couldn't think. I was hyperventilating. The numbing cold was unbearable. It felt like death. Come on, keep it together, damn it. I could only imagine that this was a nightmare or potentially the delusion of my fracturing psyche. All I could think to do is to repeat the bits of information that I knew to keep it together in this strange place. I pulled the tattered remains of my lab coat together, trying to find some kind of warmth as I feel reality return to normal speed again. I can't fight off the cold dread any longer, and I lose consciousness. I stir. I hear the strange sounds of birds. I wake up and launch myself up onto my feet, immediately regretting my choice of actions. Lightheaded, I fall to my knees, using my hands to stabilize myself on the ground. Trying once again, only this time much slower, I stand up and look around confused. I'm in the clearing of a forest. Seeing the sun in the sky shining through the gap in the canopy above me was comforting. The nightmare of being trapped in that cold space, which had felt so real, now felt like an illusion. However, that cold place, was any of that real? And if so, why can't I remember why I'm in these woods? Panic once again sets in as I climb up the bank of the crater. I feel the grass pressing up against my skin, a nice break from the feeling of nothingness that surrounded me before. The air is cold, but it's not unbearable given the current state of my clothes. They don't do much to keep me warm. Okay, I need to get my bearings. I examine my glasses, checking the lenses for damage. Damn, there's a slight crack, but I reckon I can still use these. Oh wait. I begin to slap each of my pockets, eventually finding the hard, rectangular shape in my right pocket. My phone! Thank God. I turn it on, ignoring the cracked screen until I notice the black blotches on parts of it. Damn, you really took a beating from that fall. I must have landed on it when I was in that hole. Could a slip really do that much damage? How hard did I hit the ground? Before my mind could race further, I decide to check out if my phone's apps are still usable. No signal. Fuck. I took a look around me, getting my bearings before heading in the direction that I believed was north. With some luck, I could find a vantage point where I could get a signal or see a building nearby. Maybe a cabin, or if I was lucky, I'd find how far I strayed from the town. Or if I was really lucky, I'd find my dorm and colleagues who could explain to me what the hell just happened. Shortly followed by their expressions of how worried they were and questions of where the hell I'd been. But to my dismay, there was none of that. What in the world is going on here? My panicked voice does nothing to hide my timidness as I sink back against a tree, fighting to catch my breath. Okay, calm down. I look out the town in front of me. There is no way that I'm chancing staying out in the woods for a night in this place, wherever that may be. To avoid falling over, I carefully make my way down the hill. The woodland brush was thick, the trees are large and overgrown. Evidence of the rich life that they had led was situated in these lands, providing cover for the shrubbery underneath to grow and develop into a lively ecosystem. It was rather peaceful, save for my own panting cutting across the sounds of nature. I could see my breath appear in front of me with each thick exhalation. It was a reminder of just how cold it truly is. I really need to get something warmer. These tattered sleeves were not going to last in these conditions. It was only a matter of time before the sun would set, allowing the night to take over and dropping these harsh temperatures even more. I gotta move, otherwise I'll freeze. I exit the tree line and find a well-worn path that leads to the gate I saw from the hillside. I continue on with my walk, and I notice the city become closer and closer. The few shops and stalls that they have outside these walls seem abandoned. No one occupies them, and there is no business out front, yet their equipment remains placed. Weird. Seeing no one at the gate, I press onward, walking through the old stonework. It's rather impressive to see such a creation. That's when my eyes turned wide as I see some of the pedestrians walking the streets. They were tall and hairy, with tails. My panicked expression draws attention from a beast who's not 2 meters away from me. Gods of the realm! What is that? Guards! Guards, come quick! I immediately back away as I see a crowd form. Mothers holding back their children, men giving me disgusted looks, and young lads who were simply puzzled. Oi, beast! You better have those disgusting paws of yours raised by the count of 3, or I'm going to gut you. I let out a gasp as I finally get a good look at these beasts' faces, muzzles, long fur, and in their case, a nasty, intimidating snarl, not unlike that of a wolf. As if on instinct, I follow their commands in a somewhat ironic scenario and quickly raise my hands to look less threatening. I watch them slowly press in, walking towards me in a driven way. Whoa, please, I'm not here to cause trouble, I'm just lost and looking for... Does it look like we give a shit what you're looking for? On your knees, freak! You're going to the dungeon! I freeze up, honestly scared of what these men, these beasts, are going to do with me. Hey... Before I can say any more, I'm interrupted by the loud, thundering sound of feet hitting the ground in rapid succession. I look to my right, and within seconds, a flash of orange streams past my eye. A slim figure quickly jumps into the air and delivers a swift kick to one of the guard's faces, sending him back away from me. The other guard goes to rush this unknown person. He quickly presses his feet hard into the ground and launches himself backwards away from his pursuer and to my direction. That's when I see that his feet were no ordinary human, but instead a set of paws, different from the men who tried to arrest me. They're smaller and a different color. I take this opportunity to look up his slender frame. His long legs bend up to a muscular but heavily protected torso, a free-flowing tail that sits at its behind, And to top it off, a face that I could barely even get a glimpse of. I see 2 pointed ears, blazing in color, glorious like the sun itself, as it's contrasted the shroud. Listen, friend, I have no idea who you are, but I suggest that you book it. He spoke quickly, perfectly intelligible, but with a sense of urgency that let me know that I was in true danger if I stayed here any longer. Before I can even think about making a break for it, his arms fall down to his sides and grab something off his belt. He raised it to the sky and throws it to the ground with considerable force. It releases some sort of thick layer of smoke that covers the open space in seconds. Run! You even think about running, Runt, and I will make sure that whatever the hell I was going to do to you earlier is 10 times worse. Fear quickly sinks in as I realize that I was forced with a choice that could put my life in serious danger. Do I follow this unknown stranger in the hopes of securing shelter, or maybe even finding my way back home? Or is it better to stay put and do what the guards ask of me, to avoid putting a target on my back? What should I do? Oh, it's a choice? Follow the unknown stranger? Acting on sheer impulse, I decide to follow the stranger. Regardless of the guards' threats, I'd much rather trust a somewhat friendly face trying to give me an out. I'm broken away from my thoughts as I watch him turn on his heel and begin sprinting. I take this as my cue to run, and I break into a sprint to chase after my rescuer. Who are you? Name's Fraser, sort of an outlaw in these parts. What the hell is going on here? My lungs are on fire, my speech interrupted by the deep breaths as I round corner after corner. After passing what looks like a market square, we reach a large strip. I'll hazard a guess that you did something that they didn't like. How is he not even panting? God, I'm out of shape. Does walking through a gate count? Oh, that's a big no-no. Outsiders with no residency or business inside the walls need some sort of woven companion to use the main gates. Just why the hell is everyone a wolf here anyway? What the hell are you, too? Hey, speak for yourself, and we're not all wolves. I take a bit of offense to that. He lets out a chuckle as he continues to make light work of our sprint. And that's a stupid question. Do you really not know where you are? Look, save the questions for later. All you need to know is that I'm trying to save your arse. Now? As the sounds of footsteps increase, Fraser rounds a final corner and grabs me by the arm, jumping into a hidden alleyway. With quite a bit of ease, he pulls me into his lap. I look up at him puzzled, but he gives me a look of reassurance. This was both to break my fall and to simultaneously cover my mouth. We sit like that for a good 5 minutes as the sounds of footsteps pass us by and slowly begin to fade away, being replaced with the humble sounds of an active market. Birds chirping, sounds of sweeping, the day-to-day takes of stock being shifted around in exchange for the clashing sounds of coins being passed from buyer to seller. Well, I'm ready to move if you are. I know I'm comfy, but we can't afford to sit here all day. I watch him, and he's looking up at the sky. It's gonna be night soon anyway. Yeah, we can move. Wait, night already? How can he tell? It's the winter season, lad. Temperatures drop quicker, and then by extension, so does the sun. I give it an hour or 2 at the most. Huh. That's actually pretty impressive. I feel so lost right now. What even are you? Not to be rude. And I know I'm probably going to ask you a dozen times more, but I've never seen something like you. Ever. Well, I'm human? He slowly gets up and begins stretching. He pops a squat in front of me to properly stretch his legs before standing back up and doing the same with his arms and torso. Human. Can't say that I've ever heard of it. You got a name? My face drops, thinking he might actually know something about me. I sigh and answer him. But let's get back to business. My ears prick up and I immediately lift my head. I have some friends outside of town, good buddies of mine who run a tavern in a more open area that isn't infested with guards. Grim is a scholar. He did a lot of traveling before he ended up here. Where exactly is here? You must be dumber than a bag of rocks, huh? I give him a frustrated stare. He simply snickers and stares back at me with an amused smirk before letting out a sigh. It honestly depends on who you ask. Ask the wolves and they'll tell you that you're in the proud kingdom of... Oxheimer? Oxheimer? Bastard invaders. Though if you ask any self-respecting person, they'll tell you that you are in the gracious land of Caledonia. It seems like a sore subject for him to talk about, so I decide not to push for details on the matter. Okay, so what's the plan? If we're moving, where are we going? Well, we need to get out of the city walls. The way they see it, a possible spy and an outlaw of significance gave their elite guards a slip and are currently running rampant. He lets out a frustrated sigh and walks over to the entrance of the alleyway, tucking his head back in after seeing many armed guards patrolling the streets. Okay, if we step outside and walk the streets, we're as good as dead. It doesn't help that you're a dead giveaway with those weird pieces of attire. What do you mean weird? I've never seen a shirt before? Not one like that, no. It's tight around the neck, reducing its breathability. It's thin and tears easily, making it impractical in colder climates. Not to mention it looks downright horrible. That color looks terrible on you. What? You jerk? Feeling slightly offended, I'm ready to go off on the fox before he shushes me. Shut up, dumbass. Are you trying to get us caught? My face goes bright red as I realize the detriment we're in. That's when I watch him approach me. He puts his hand on my back, and I assume that he's going to pull another tool from one of his many belts. What's a smoke bomb gonna do for us here? My thoughts are interrupted as I see him pull a dagger. Panicked, I back away as he spins it in his paw at the right angle. Oh, calm down, you big Jess. If I wanted to put you out of your misery, I would have done it already. He moves quickly down the alleyway and I follow him. Below us are a series of tunnels that run underneath the kingdom. They're used by my allies. He pauses, raising the dagger close to my throat, causing me to go wide-eyed as I feel my body freeze up. You have given me no reason to distrust you, but should I ever find out you're responsible for the discovery of these tunnels that would put me and my friends in any danger? He plunges the knife forward and I flinch. I will not hesitate to send you to your god. He spins the knife around as its handle is facing me and uses his other paw to offer me a hand up. I'd apologize for scaring you, but, well, I had to make sure that you were taking me seriously. I take his paw. Fuck yeah, I took you seriously. I was about to piss myself. He lets out a snicker, shrugging his shoulders as he walks towards the grate. He let out a sigh as he leads me to the entrance hatch. He plunges his knife into a gap and lifts it, popping the grate from its hole and pushes it to the side. I watch in awe as the fox somehow manages to lift the heavy metal grate with ease. I look down at my arms, trying to judge just how big the difference in our muscle strength is. My eyes begin to wander as I look up at his body, only to discover that his arms weren't the only large thing there. His broad shoulders perfectly accentuate those arms, connected to his slim torso, the angle from behind giving me a full view. His newly lowered cloak gives me a revealing glance at his figure. Unfortunately, that's when my eyes settle on Fraser's rear. It's sculpted, pleasantly plump, and backed out slightly to the point that you could see the perfect curvature of his rump. His cloak is, once again, leaving little to the imagination. You know my eyes are up here, right? He flicks his head and stares at me, dead-eyed. I feel my face go red, turning multiple shades darker from when the fox had originally caught me out. Though, could he blame me? After everything that's happened, it's honestly nice to have something like that practically shoved in my face. Sorry. I was just, admiring... No, I mean, analyzing... No, shit, I mean... Mate. He raises his paw and snaps his fingers to pull me out of my stuttering. Calm down. You think that you're the first person that I've caught staring at this old thing. He swishes his tail to remove the cloak cover for a brief second, where I do get a sneaky peek at his tail. Listen, I don't really care what you got going on, but right now, focus on the job before your own pleasure, okay? Now come on, we got sewers to move through. Gross. You do it a few times and you'll get used to it too. He instructs me to go first. I approach and sit down to press my body forward. I fall onto the ladder, securing my feet and hands, and begin to climb down, listening above for the fox. He slowly follows, popping the cover back in the correct place to conceal our pathway of escape. So, Fraser? Where are we headed exactly? Old hideout of mine. I'm gonna try and get you some new attires to help you hide in plain sight. Then, we'll see if I can sneak us out by the east gate and get into the old town, maybe try and pass you off as some weird naked mole rat. That sounds disgusting. Speaking of disgusting, watch your step. I begin to wonder what he means as I'm still firmly on the ladder, only to feel my feet not connect with the next step. I'm tempted to let out a scream as I fall, but I'm stopped by a splash of water covering my pants as my butt hits the ground. Oh god, what the hell is this? Fuck, my ass hurts. I look at the fox snicker as he effortlessly hops down while I prop myself up. That would be sewer water, my furthest friend. What? Wait, really? Ugh, this is gross. Ew, 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 ew. He bursts into laughter, holding his gut while watching me quickly step through the water and back onto the paved pathway. Oh, gods above, that is hilarious. I throw him a grimace look, pouting as I start walking ahead, desperate to get out of this godforsaken place. All right, pup, your hilarious misfortune aside, keep going straight, and we should be at a turn off for the East Market soon. If I've timed this right, the sun should be setting and the stalls should be closing, so hopefully I can nab you some fresh attire. Gods, you stink. I know, asshole. How do you think I feel, short arse? I'm the one who's got a better nose than you. To be fair, he has a point. Not that I'd ever admit it, especially to him. Time passes in this dingy walkway. There's been no trace of the sun except for the faint cracks of light escaping through the holes that covered access to the sewers, as well as the occasional storm drain. I could feel this start to play annoyance on my mind. With the run away from these pesky guards and now the long walk here, I can feel my energy being drained. However, as if he could pick up on my emotion, he spoke. Not much longer now, Bren. I look up to see the dimly lit shade of green that was his hood being covered by the darkening shades of orange from the setting sun. Hey, Phrase, answer me something, would you? With honesty. I'll do my best. No promises, though. I can see his body tense ever so slightly, as if he was just readjusting his attire after that exhausting walk. Seems like he had shifted his armor onto an uncomfortable position. Why did you save me? That's quite a loaded question, but not an impossible one to answer. He makes a sharp turn and proceeds to walk up a new pathway. In truth, it's because of the bastards in power. They've been in control of this place since before I was born. While I won't deny the credit that is due to the architects that designed the buildings of the city, I will deny the idea that the individuals in current power are nothing but entitled, self-centered, egotistical maniacs. The rightful citizens of this kingdom have been left in squalor and hardship, stuck with constant taxes, harassment, and the overall sentiment that their lives are nothing but commonplace to serve the higher-ups. They just wish to live a lavish lifestyle, without thinking of the consequences that will be paid forward by the men, women, and children beneath them. I'm taken aback by the strong conviction that escapes the Vulpine's maw. I'm immediately intrigued to know more about what he's talking about. I know your time here has been short, but the people like me have been experiencing this kind of harassment you face today for years, and we've never had a chance to combat it. The lucky few that are able to get into the nicer parts of the city are still scrutinized by the laws of the invaders of this land as a result. This country needs individuals that will challenge these notions and do what's truly best for all the people of this land. I am one of these individuals. I work with some people in one of these inns in the old town. I look out for the vulnerable and supply the needy with the necessary items they need to get by. And you, my friend, just happen to be my most recent rescue. He shoots me a wink and I can't help but blush at his flirtatious gaze, prompting me to let out a nervous chuckle. Well, it's much appreciated, Fraser. Thank you. He quickens his pace as he takes the final turn, and I follow him around the corner. Say, could you tell me more about There will be a time where I can recall the tales of the Snowball Land from years past another time. For now, we reached my hideout, so let's focus on getting ourselves out of this place, and maybe I'll tell you some over a hearty drink. His initial frustration was wiped away by the possibility of sharing a drink, something we could certainly use after a day like today. However, my thoughts are interrupted as the fox informs me that we've reached the end of the tunnel system. Okay, so if I've timed this right, we should have the cover of Nightfall to conceal our presence. Now listen, when we get up there, I want you to stay right behind me. Use my cloak tail as cover as we approach. Now, we're aiming for one of the abandoned houses close to the East Gates marketplace. I'm going to stick you in there and you're going to keep out of sight. And what are you going to do while I'm doing all this? I'll be enacting stage 2 of my escape plan. I'm going to head down to the closing market stalls to see if I can find you some kind of shawl or cloak to wrap around that pretty little head of yours. If I'm lucky, I might be able to steal you some kind of garment to replace those raggedy rags. I watch his eyes look me up and down. By now, I can tell my clothes are on their last legs and are doing little to provide comfort and insulation. My shoes are no better. I can feel the discomfort from my feet caused by the ripped canvas-style material. Yeah, I'm kind of in need of some, but don't go about pilfering every store in the lot. There must be some good people in there somewhere, hard at work to make an honest living. I wouldn't want to take all of that away from them just by being needy. The fox seems genuinely taken aback with my answer, as if my choice and his actions was the complete opposite of what he expected of me to say. Nevertheless, he did seem amused by my take, but didn't want to let it show. Turning away from me, he moved swiftly up the ladder to pop the grate cover out of its socket. As I reach the final steps, he extends his paw for me to grab onto and pulls me out and up onto my feet. The surrounding area we found ourselves in appeared to be some kind of rundown park, covered in overgrown shrubbery and decaying trees. While some would see this lack of care as disrespectful, I couldn't be happier. The night sky combined with the thick plants act as a perfect cover for us to slip past any guards on patrol, as well as any nearby civilians that happen to be on a nighttime wander. And that's why we use the tunnel systems. He shoots me a wink, satisfied by his own confidence in his choice to take such a less traveled road. I return his gesture with an unamused eye roll. We push on through the gardens and finally made it to the abandoned house that Fraser had initially set out for. We sneak around to the back where a broken window lay in wait. The fox presses his back into the wall, bringing his paws forward and turning them into a cup shape, making a makeshift foothold for me to use. I quickly move forward and press my foot into his paws as he launches me skyward. With my outstretched arms, I grab the base of the windowsill and hold myself up, propping myself up onto my elbows. I was high enough to launch my body through and do an impromptu somersault into the room, but landed awkwardly and hurt my backside in the process. Ow. I don't think that you have much of a talent for athletics, mate. Screw you. I rub my back and try to ease the tension and catch a glimpse of Fraser's smug face looking down at me. Yeah, you wish you could. Now remember to keep low, keep quiet, and keep away from the window. I'll be as fast as I can. He shoots me a wink before pulling his hood above his head, turning on his heels, and sprinting off in the opposite direction. Damn, he's fast. Must have been going slow for my sake earlier. Now faced with a moment of rest, I fall over, fully embracing the uncomfortable, sturdy floor. I press my back against the wall and, similarly to how the fox had held me earlier, I'm finally alone. Now faced with the realization that I had nothing to distract me from this nightmare, I let out a loud exhale. The constant action and danger had kept me from thinking about anything else. I looked down at my arm, the tattered sleeves of my lab coat doing nothing to provide much warmth or comfort. With a swift motion, I tear the sleeves off, revealing the lightly scratched and bruised skin underneath. Tossing the remnants of the sleeve aside, I grip my arm and pinch it hard. Yet as my teary eyes proved the sudden jolt of pain, it was no dream. I forced another deep exhale and raised my head up, pressing it against the wall in utter defeat. I know I didn't hit my head that hard. There's no chance that I'm from here, and there's no chance that I'm in the right place. I smack my head to try and jog my memory. I pull a switch, there was a bright light, and then that stupid voice came on as I was plunged into darkness. But what happened after? I was in a building. I wouldn't just appear in a field immediately after. God damn it, why can't I remember anything? I fall forward, a single tear rolling down my cheek and hitting the floor. I slam my fist into the ground, feeling defeated as the realization sets in. I might not ever get out of this kingdom. I wouldn't know where to go or what to do, other than to pray that some kind of stranger might offer up some assistance as to where this place is, and then see if I can get some sort of direction from where I came from. Oh, you will. Just give it some time. After all, the game has only just begun. Who said that? I look around in a panic, staring off at every possible entrance point to the room. I definitely heard something, but my frantic looks couldn't pinpoint the origin of the sound. I'm not screwing around. Who said that? I'm probably being louder than I should be. My frustration has overtaken any sense of fear my previous spiral had taken me on. I'm not anyone important. Not yet, anyway. The room engulfs in shadow, sounds being erased so that I can focus solely on the voice. If you knew everything, the game wouldn't be very fun now, would it? For instance, I could have never pictured you running away from an authority figure like that. I pictured you freezing up. My head spins as I feel the presence grow stronger. Just play along for now, dear Bryn. All will be revealed in turn. I fall to the floor with a thud, ready to throw up as the presence becomes unbearable. It's at that moment, when I think I fully lost my mind, that I hear Fraser's fast-approaching footsteps. He dives into the room with his bow drawn and scans it for the possible sight of an intruder. What in the nine hells is going on here? I quickly sit up and lean against the wall, pacing myself. Sorry, I thought I heard something. So your instinct was to shout and slam yourself about the place? His frustration is quiet, but it is duly noted by his tone. Gods above, are you incapable of listening to the most simple instructions unless they're being yelled at you like some kind of military instructor? I understand why. With me getting so emotional, I created the possibility of risking our capture and whatever fate this city's armed forces would decide for us. I'm sorry. This is the first time that I had a chance to stop and just take in what's happened to me. I'm hearing these voices and seeing these things, and I think I'm going insane? I hang my head in absolute shame as I truly feel like a broken man, another tear staining my cheek. I'm not even able to trust myself, and I'm repeatedly letting down the man who was trying to save my life. I'm about ready to tell him to just leave me so that I'm not a liability to him, but that's when the fox walks up to me and gives me a hug. Look, I get it. You've been in the city for less than a day. So far, you've been chased by the Royal Guard and then forced through a sewer by a stranger who's requested that you put your trust in him with little to no explanation of what's going on. Well, I can only apologize so much for my last point. But the fact of the matter is, you wound up in some serious hot water. Right now, you need to focus on getting out of it. You're stressed, you're angry, and rightfully so. You're scared. But these are all things that we can address later, when you're out of here and safe from the bastards trying to catch us, okay? I can feel myself calm down in his embrace, taking a series of deep breaths as I process everything. He's right. I need to focus on the here and now before I start pondering on the future. Thank you, Fraser. I needed that. I could tell. Though, I wasn't actually trying to hug you. I was trying to fasten this cloak around your neck so that we could set up your disguise. But to each their own. If anything, I'm just glad that you calmed down. Smartass. He takes a step back, rolling his eyes and shrugging his shoulders, continuing my good mood with his repeated quips. Is it annoying? Yes. Is it charming in an endearing way? Also yes. I let him carry on with his alterations to my outfit, and when the cloak is fully secured, I pull the hood up. The fabric just goes far enough past my face that it makes it very hard to see it, if pointed at the right angle. I'm taken aback by just how long flowing the cloak is. I can feel it brushing against my legs as I pull it around to hide the tattered clothing that felt stuck to my body. There, now we match. He shoots me a wink as he pulls the hood up above his head. What size is this? It's huge. I may have had to steal you one from a stall that specializes in making clothes for bears, but that's not really important right now. You remember the plan? Keep my hood up and my head low, then we take the back streets as far as they'll take us before we get to the eastern gate. I keep quiet, you do all the talking, and then we slip past the checkpoint to meet up at the rendezvous point. Good boy. I'm actually impressed you got all of that. He shoots me a wink and I blush. Knowing that we don't really have time to mess around, I break out of my bashfulness and continue. We probably shouldn't screw around any longer than we need to. Are you ready to move? Let's get you out of here. With that confirmation, we move our plan into action. The fox quickly sneaks his way over to the window and jumps out, waiting by the drop in order to catch me. I clumsily fall out and nearly land on my arse, if it weren't for his quick reflexes. With a cover of darkness on our sides, we make our way through the different districts. The numerous beacons and torches we pass act as if to provide us a path to follow to the eastern gate. We repeatedly dodge the numerous guards patrolling the streets by taking alternative pathways. If they were crossing over a bridge, we went underneath and climbed back up. If they were walking the main street, we take the balcony pathways that seemingly connected to what I presume to be restaurants and pubs. They'd probably be a nice place to grab something to drink and take a seat to enjoy it if I wasn't a wanted criminal. We finished our walk through the restaurant district, and the checkpoint was in sight. We lock eyes and I take the hint to do a dive by the nearby gardens to hide behind the shrubberies. Then we discuss our plan of attack. Okay, if we move at the right time. Just as he says this, a large cart strolls past, carrying what looks like a barrel and other wooden storage devices. Oh, perfect! That cart is going through the eastern gate to resupply at the production district in East Old Town. We can't hide in the cart because they'll want to inspect it, so we're going to follow it through. We'll keep low, follow in tandem with the wheels, and when it gets up to the checkpoint, we'll run as fast as we can. Whatever happens, we don't stop. Understood? Understood. He stares at me deeply, truly relying on my commitment this time to ensure that we get the best outcome possible. I won't let you down. I'm going to hold you to that. He shoots me a wink and I watch as his ears twitch. The cart rolls past us, and in another demonstration of the fox's acrobatic ability, he grabs me and flings us both over the bush, landing on our feet and slowly presses us in line with the cart. He stands at the back while I keep close to the wheel at the front. He doesn't say anything, but I can tell that he's doing his best to get me through first. While I worried about his plan, I push my fear to the side, adamant that I will keep strong to get the job done. Halt! I freeze, unaware of just how close we had gotten to the gate in my moment of heavy pondering. Any need for the search? I'm on a schedule here. Silence, peasant. By order of the Royal Council, the outer gates are to remain under close guard. We will only allow travel after the deep inspection of every passerby attempting to use them. Stand to the side or face your judgment. I watch as his hands tightly grip on a now drawn sword, reflecting the moonlight in its cold steel gaze. I can only hear the cart driver move slowly off of his vehicle and stand over to the side. That's when we decide to make a break for it until we hear a dreaded, "Close the gate!" We have been spotted by a passing patrolman, throwing a large wrench into our plan. We act quickly as I hear the whirling sound, watching a wooden gate slowly descend from the roofing of the gate. I sprint after hearing the sounds of Fraser's footsteps behind me. As we're about to make it through the gate, I hear the sound of fabric going taut. I know the fox had instructed me not to look back, but I couldn't help myself, and what I saw had me scared. The charismatic, flirtatious, smartass fox who had repeatedly shown good control of his emotions could do nothing but display fear in his eyes as the edge of his cloak had been caught. He'd been pulled back roughly by the fierce strength of the guard watching over the gate. I shut my eyes, panicking about what to do, and that's when I hear that mysterious voice again. "Are you really willing to let him die like this? Huh, you're such a coward." As quick as it appeared, it had dissipated. I was left with my eyes watching in slow motion as to what was about to happen. I could feel the sheer amount of adrenaline pumping to every part of my body. It was a fight or flight. And I chose to fight. No! In a quick motion, I grabbed the vulpine by the chest, pulling him with enough force to catch the wolf off guard, and have the cloak slip from his grasp. I fling the fox downward, watching him do a makeshift roll to beat the speed of the closing gate. It had shut. The fox standing in the pathway to freedom looks back at me from the gaps of the great door. "Get him, quickly!" Fuck. You fucking idiot. Why the hell did you do that? I specifically told you to run and not look back. You don't even know me, yet you're doing all of this, sacrificing so much to help me. Well, I appreciate it. I'm not gonna let you be the one to sacrifice so much. Now run. He hesitates. I know if he doesn't act quickly, there will be more guards swarming the other end of the tunnel, ready to arrest him, so I snap at him. Are you incapable of listening to the most simplest of instructions unless they're being yelled at you like some kind of military instructor? Now run! I'm tackled to the ground by one of the guardsmen, and I feel a strong push connect with the back of my head, causing me to hit the ground. I'll come back for you, Bryn. I won't forget this. As I feel my vision start to blur, I watch as he makes out of the gateway and off into the night, a smile on my face as my courage is rewarded. I can watch my friend get away safely as it all fades to black. I feel my body go limp and succumb to the grasp of the soldiers, and I can sense being hoisted over a shoulder and begin to be carried away. When I wake up, I find myself in a cell, effectively tossed onto some surprisingly comfortable bedding. I look around the cell and notice that the only thing that decorates it are a wooden grate acting as a makeshift window and a small table. Thinking quickly, I slide the table over to the window and climb up to get a better view out to the city. Light was being reflected inside the cell from some outside source, but it made it possible to see the lit streets of the city. It was still night, presumably the early hours of the morning. Doesn't this look familiar? My eyes widen as I hear the voice again. Come on, you don't remember having fun building something like this? I built some... Get down from there! I drop down as instructed and look back at a portly wolf strolling past my cell. With a glance, he shoots daggers at me as I return to my previous spot before muttering something under his breath that I couldn't make out. I'm left alone once again. With nothing else to do, I lean back against the wall, hoping that if nothing else, Fraser had made it out okay. Only a few hours go by before I am woken up by the echoes of loud footsteps ascending a staircase at a considerable pace. The reverberance only grows in intensity as they keep going up the stairs. My mind races. The little knowledge that I have of this prison makes it obvious that this person has gone past many cells already, and is more than likely coming my way. Before I have a chance to react, I can already see that a large shadow has settled on the last of the steps that reach my cell. The huge shadow cast by this individual leaves me frightened. I subconsciously follow my instincts and back away from the door. Tripping over the bedding, I continue to stumble backwards until I hit the wall.
Oh, calm now. I'm not that scary, am I?
The figure backs away for a brief moment, grabbing a torch that was lighting the stairs and bringing it over to my cell.
To be fair, the lighting of this level doesn't always make it obvious who's approaching.
Who are you?
My name is Calder. And you must be the interesting fellow my guards captured.
To be continued. So that was the first build of Cleaved. And I think that is the secondary protagonist-ish, or at least like your main companion. I actually thought that if you had left, that you would have been safe with Frazier, that the build would have ended with him. But knowing that technically Calder is the one that you're supposed to stay with, Calder or Calder or whatever his name is, I knew that eventually you would end up with them, not Frazier. But yeah. What else? So I am fairly certain that there's already some of you in the comments going like, hey, this reminds me of that one visual novel with the wolves who are in charge and they're kind of, mean. Which, yeah, to be fair, it's true. It does, like, when I was reading it's like, hey, that kind of reminds me of that. But, I mean, given what's happening with that other one, then, this is a welcomed replacement. So yeah, so just, if you guys didn't already know, I'm not going to be reading that other one for reasons. It should be very obvious. But yeah. So the art is nice. And then again, it's, it's Haps. It's, I like Frazier. He's a mix of like sort of that, he's a serious character, but he's also, willing to be a little fun. I kind of wish that the protagonist hadn't been human, that the story had not been like an isekai. Because it's just the same thing over and over. But, and I also, I hope that as the story progresses, that it doesn't become like a, oh, human, you silly person, you're stupid. Your ways don't work here. Because then it's just like more of the same, unfortunately. My hope is that at least that the human isn't useless. That's all, I guess. That's all that I can ask for or just hope. And by the way, when I say useless, I mean that he's not just sort of standing there and the story is happening around him. Like, at least be an active participant in the story. That's what I hope. Yeah, but that's a better way to put it. Like, that the human be an active participant. But yeah. So from what little we can glean, write down in the comments what you think, guys. And yeah. I really don't know what else to say. I am looking forward to more of the story because I was waiting for it to progress. So yeah. Yeah. So, thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Cleaved yourself, or stay up to date with, what's going on with the visual novel, then you can do so by going down into the description and clicking the Twitter link, which should take you to I think it's the Cleaved Twitter account, if you have Twitter. If not, then oh well. So sorry. And that should have a direct link to the itch.io page, where you can download the game. If not, then just go to itch.io and look up Cleaved. And they do have a Patreon, I believe. So if you would like to support them, then you can do so by clicking the link down below. If I find their Patreon and I link it down in the description. And yeah. Also, if you happen to want to support me by giving me money too, I will also have my Ko-fi link down in the description, as well as in the About Me in the YouTube page or on my Twitter page or whatever. You don't have to give me money, but it's very appreciated. Wink, wink. But yeah, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.